So I am Hannah Sollenberger. I am Assistant Dean in Academic Advising and Student Support Services, and I also have a colleague with me.
And I'm Lindsay Arlington, and I'm the Associate Registrar.
And we're going to talk about registration today, all the questions that you have about registration. And really the goal here is to prepare you for your meeting with your faculty advisor. So this is not to replace the meeting with your faculty advisor. We really just want you to be super prepared for that meeting and kind of go in making informed decisions. So some of our goals today is to prepare for that faculty meeting. We're going to discuss the course selection for the academic year 21-22. Can't believe it, we're there already, but we are. Answer any questions that you have about courses, departments, and majors, and then discuss graduation requirements. A lot of students have questions for us about how do I know if I'm prepared for graduation, if I'm on track for graduation. So we want to answer those for you today. So some important dates, and these dates are also on the Gettysburg College website, but sometimes it's hard to find when you're looking for something really specific. So one of the things that we want you to be aware of is that the course catalog is now available. So March 26th, the course catalog opened. So when you are ready and you want to look up what classes you want to take for next year, all of those things will be available to you on the Student Center website. And we'll be going on to make sure that you know how to access those. We have a student visitor with us today, Harrison Moore, and he will be going over some of those things with you on where and how you access the course catalog, but it is open. So you don't necessarily have to wait until, mid-April to start planning for your courses. You definitely want to be able to start looking at that now. Another important date that we want to keep in mind is April 9th is the last day to drop a class and earn a W if that's something that is important to you. Lots of students are kind of interested if you are not doing well in a course, if you're kind of really overwhelmed, it is the last day to withdraw from a class with a W. The W does not affect your GPA, but you don't earn course credit for the course then. So that is a decision that if you're going that direction, you want to talk to your instructor, want to talk to your faculty advisor, and really involve your family support network at home as well. It's a big decision, so that's something that you want to talk with all involved parties. The other thing that we'll be talking about is where to find the advising hold, and that's something that Harrison will be showing you. The advising hold is something that will be on there until you meet with your faculty advisor. So we want you to have informed decisions. We want you to be making a good plan for that meeting and for next year. But until you meet with your faculty advisor, the hold will be there and you won't be able to register. So that meeting is extra important with your advisor. Registration dates, it looks like we have students here from all class years. So registration dates, if you are a current junior, rising senior, don't know where the time has gone, but your registration date is April 14th. Rising juniors is going to be April 21st, and rising sophomores is April 28th. And that is super early for those of you who have done this before. It is either 7 or 7:15 in the morning. So it will be important for you to set those alarms unless you were early birds and up anyway, but many are not. So that's an important day for you to get up early, make sure courses are in your cart, and that you are ready for registration. Another important date is May 5th. That's when summer registration begins. If you're planning to take a course with Gettysburg, that would be the day that you can start to register. Again, those are up on the course catalog now, so you can look at some of the offerings. And Lindsay can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have 24 this summer, which is more than we've ever had. So 24 classes that you can choose from if you decide to take a course with Gettysburg this summer. And those are online, and we can show you how to access those as well. So you can access them on the 5th, and then the SU option that you all got emails about last week, I believe, the SU option is open and available for spring 21, May 10th to the 20th. So if that's something that you are interested in, again, we want you to make informed decisions. So talking with the instructor, your faculty advisor, your support network at home, definitely make those informed decisions that way. And then, of course, May 31st is the last day to adjust your course schedule. So then Student Center will close for a while. That is the date when we then, welcome incoming first year students and allow them to register. So that'll be an important date for you. Any changes, we of course want you to set your schedule in April, but if things change, you change your mind, you decide to take a summer course, so your schedule for next year changes, May 31st would be the last day that you can make any of those changes. So some important considerations. Fulfilling the Gettysburg curriculum requirements, you need 32 credits to graduate. So those are full credit units to graduate. So those are things that you might want to check on your transcript, check in Student Center, see where you sit right now. Those 32 are based on, our 8 semesters of 4 classes. So if you have taken a gap semester, if you've gone on a leave, if you maybe gone part-time due to COVID, and or didn't do well in a course that you need to make up a credit, we need to figure out how that plays into your plan for next year. So typically, a lot of students will take the 4 credits every semester. If it doesn't work out that you take those 4 credits every semester, that's when you need to adjust your plan. And that's why it's important to have that information, know how many credits you have so far, know that and share that information with your faculty advisor, and really have a good conversation about if you're not necessarily on track to be, say, part of class of 2023, what do I need to do? Is it an internship for credit? Is it a summer course? Is it a semester of 5? How am I going to get to that magic number 32 and make sure I have all of my requirements fulfilled? The other thing that we like to think about when we're talking about our schedule for next year is the language requirement. Everyone needs to fulfill a language requirement in some capacity. So making sure with your faculty advisor that you've done that. For those of you who are rising sophomores, making sure that you have your first year writing and your first year seminar. Sometimes first year seminar classes also fulfill first year writing, but for those that don't, making sure that you have fulfilled both of those requirements. And again, Harrison will share with us how and where you see that, just to double check that that is something that you have fulfilled. Departmental advice is super helpful. Knowing what you potentially want to major in and possibly minor in. We want to make sure that you're taking the department's advice, especially with those courses that go back to back that you need to take. For example, Bio 111 in the fall, and then you need to take Bio 112 in the spring. So making sure that you have that major departmental advice to making sure that you stay on track. The interdisciplinary requirement, we get a lot of questions about this on how and what those requirements are, and I'll let Lindsay give you more information about those. That is part of the Gettysburg curriculum, and Lindsay will be sharing with us some information about the Gettysburg curriculum, but you'll want to make sure that that is something that you are fulfilling on a regular basis. So I will turn it over to Lindsay.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay, so this is the Gettysburg Curriculum. These are all the requirements within the curriculum that have to be satisfied in order to graduate. We have a full list on the registrar webpage of the types of courses. I'm just going to kind of go through, give a few examples to kind of help students guide the types of courses that will satisfy the different requirements. You can use a student center to actually filter out. I will go over that to look for a particular requirement if you're still needing one. So we do have the arts requirement. That's going to be courses like music classes, art history, cinema and media studies. Humanities are going to be the types of courses. Philosophy and history are a couple of examples. Social science, that's going to be sociology, political science, anthropology, economics, just to name a few. Students do need to satisfy a natural science. One has to be with a lab, and then one can be without a lab. The quantitative reasoning, that's going to be math courses, computer science. A lot of majors do have methods courses that can also satisfy this particular requirement, so it's something you'd want to keep in mind. The interdisciplinary integrative thinking, that is an area there is some flexibility there. A lot of students, they want to do a major, a minor. They may not be able to fit in 2 separate interdisciplinary courses. So I do refer students to the course cluster, and that is also an option. That is where you pair courses of 2 different disciplines. and then do a paper or project with a current instructor. And I'm happy to, go over that in further detail if students are considering that. As Hannah had mentioned, the first year writing, a lot of our students get that out of the way during their first year, or they have transfer credit that could work for that from AP or dual enrollment. And then there's also the global understanding. That's going to be courses that focus on non-Western culture. We have a lot of our Africana studies, Asian studies, Latin American studies, those types of courses that could work for that. As some examples, conceptualizing diversity is going to be courses that focus on a particular gender, ethnicity, race, sexuality. Again, just some examples to kind of steer you in the direction of the types of courses that would work for that. Science, technology, and society. Those are going to be courses that focus on how either science or technology impacts society. A lot of our environmental studies courses, for example, can work for that requirement. And then, as Hannah had mentioned, the second language. That's going to be courses in the same language. For example, Spanish 101, 102. So completing that, it's a full year of language for that requirement. And this is just the registrar webpage. I wanted to include this just to show you the courses fulfilling the Gettysburg curriculum. Again, this is a static page. It's not updated regularly, but again, it gives students an idea of the types of courses that would work for particular requirements. I also wanted to touch on the major and minor check sheets. This link will take you to all of the majors and minors for students that have not declared yet. It helps with planning. It lists all the courses that would be required for a particular major or minor. So if you're kind of leaning toward a couple different majors, you may want to print them out, make some notes on them, work with an advisor to help with your course planning. So that's a great way to start thinking ahead. Students that have declared, that will be in your academic requirement report, and it will show all the courses listed that would be required for that particular major that's been declared. So this is the student class search. And I wanted to bring your attention to this because a lot of students, they may not know what courses are going to be available a particular semester to meet a particular requirement. By filtering out with your term up there at the top, you can filter it out by subject. And then you're going to want to click the arrow down for that additional search criteria. It's kind of hard to see until you expand it, but then you can actually filter everything out at the bottom. If you look at the course attribute by curriculum, and then you can actually select the attribute value. That will bring, your humanities, natural science without lab, for example. So you can actually filter it out and see what courses are going to be offered that particular term if you're looking to meet a particular requirement. And I will leave it to Harrison to go over the Student Center for you guys.
All right, well, hello everyone. I hope you're having a great day. My name is Harrison Moore. I am a rising junior here at Gettysburg, and I'm just going to go over a couple of the not super detailed intricacies of Student Center, but just kind of a general overview because it's a very powerful platform and it's a little daunting at first. So it took me some time to find my way around for sure. But this is the main landing page of Student Center. So already right here, you get a lot of helpful information. You get all of your scheduling for the current semester. Over on the right, you have your advisor at the bottom there that can be very helpful for when you need to make contact with them to schedule your meeting. You can also find information about your holds at the top right, which is what Ms. Sullenberger had been mentioning earlier about the advisor hold. Make sure you get that meeting done so that you can get registered for classes as soon as possible. And this next slide is the same page for the most part, but I just wanted to highlight this drop-down window because here you can get pretty much anywhere you need within Student Center without having to navigate through all those confusing drop-down menus on the left side of the main screen. So you can view your schedule here, you can view the history of the courses you've taken, all of your enrollment information if you need to add, drop, or edit anything from your schedule. You can look at all of your grades. You can check your exam schedule to see when your finals are. You can generate a quick transcript. It won't be an official one, but it can be very helpful for checking where your standing is for courses. You have access to the shopping cart at the top there, and all of your personal information would also be shown here in case you needed to reference it for any reason. Obviously, I've blocked mine out here, but yes, it's a very helpful menu. This next page is very pertinent right now as we are preparing for registration for the 2021 to 22 academic year. So this is where you're going to find all the information about the specific time that you are able to register for your courses, because based on what class year you are and other factors, it will be a different day and a different time. You can either have, I believe, 7 a.m., 7:15, or 7:30. And if you're anything like me and you don't want to have to wake up any earlier than you need to, it could be very important to take note of that. Make sure you have everything squared away there before the day comes so that you are ready to just wake up, go into your shopping cart, and lock down all your courses before they get taken. And this last page is one thing I did want to cover in a little more detail. This is a web page for a specific class. So when you're looking through the search function or when you're looking at your schedule, this is what information you will be provided. And the really important things to highlight here are the class capacity and the waitlist capacity, especially if it's a more contended class, one of the introductory courses for a particular major, or any of your Gettysburg Curriculum courses. You really want to make sure that you're paying attention to the capacity. In addition, right above that, where it says class attributes, this is information about which requirements for graduation this specific course will cover. So this specific class will tick boxes for global understanding and a multiple inquiry social science. And so when you're looking at the courses you need to round out your Gettysburg curriculum, you definitely want to pay attention to that. And with that, I will hand it back over to our hosts, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Harrison. So what we're looking at here is a registration check sheet that I developed and will send to anyone who's on the Zoom call, and we will also make it available on our webpage. The idea is, and we have them specified for rising sophomores, rising juniors, and rising seniors accordingly. The advantage to this is that you have something that you can either fill out electronically for those of you who are really into the electronics and wanting to do everything online now, that is fine. Others, it's really nice to print something out and have it on your person, taking it to your meeting if it is an in-person meeting. Folks at home definitely like to see what you're taking, and sometimes it's easier to show that you have a plan, and here's my plan if I need to take something over the summer, and what I'm taking in each specific fall and spring. So we will have them available on the webpage, and I will send them to you via email as well. It is just a helpful planning guide and to start the conversation. A lot of students will tell me that they go to their meeting with their faculty advisors, they have great advice, and then they leave the meeting and forget everything that their faculty advisor told them to do. So we really want you to write those suggestions down. If you need to make this bigger, you can certainly, turn it into a front and back sheet as well. But we don't want you to miss anything. So we know how we talked about informed decisions. These are things that will help you make those informed decisions. So you talk about the plans and write down the ideas that you have on courses that you'd like to take or think would be great to take. And then you can also have room to add suggestions from your advisors when you go to your meeting. So the advisor meeting, here's just the kind of a recap of all the things that we said that you should do. Of course, one of the first things should be reviewing the current course offerings. What will be offered this fall, what will be offered in the spring, what's important for us to take note of, being open to suggestions from your faculty advisors. We want you to go in having some idea of what you want to do. You don't necessarily want to go in saying, I have no idea what I want to take, tell me what I should do. You want to go in having some idea, making sure you've put some thought into your discussion with your faculty advisor. We know that you all are under a lot of pressure, faculty are under a lot of pressure. So we want to make that time valuable. The best way to do that is to go in knowing at least some idea of what you might want to do. Talking about the major requirements, Gettysburg curriculum requirements should be something that you talk about during your meeting with them. If you have a list of courses that you know you definitely want to take, making sure that you talk about that rationale with them, not just saying there's this philosophy course that I just put on my list, but I don't have a reason. So have some rationale, something to guide the discussion. Any questions that you have, during your meeting, you want to make sure you can write those down. If you use the check sheet that will be sending you, there's plenty of room on the back for you to write some questions that you have for your advisor, making sure that when you leave the meeting, you have all the answers to the things that you need. You don't want to leave the meeting and then say, there's that burning question that I really forgot to ask. So making sure that you've done that before is good. And then discussing your grad plan. As we know, COVID has changed pretty much everything that we all plan to do in the last year or so. So discussing your grad plan. If that grad plan changed, so if you took part-time classes, if you took a leave, those are all the things that we mentioned earlier that would have changed your plan. Maybe you didn't do as well in a course that you had hoped to do in, that you now need to change your grad plan or just develop a new plan in general. Those are all things that you should be discussing in your meeting with them. So what questions do we have? If I can ask Lindsay and Harrison to come back on, we do have quite a few questions on our GM board, and we will kind of take turns answering some of those questions for you. Keep the questions coming if you have additional questions or concerns about registration that maybe we didn't get to today. That would be great. So one of the first ones I see here, where can I see what requirements a course fulfills? Harrison did address that question, as well as how do I know what time I register for courses? Those are things we answered. And Lindsay, could you answer the question, do international students need to fulfill the language requirement?
Yes, so that is a question I can work with the individual students to see if they qualify for the language waiver. So they can email me directly. I did include that in under the question for my email address. So if any students are interested in going through that process, I'm happy to walk them through. But it would be a petition process through the Academic Standing Committee.
Excellent. Another question, do changing your grades to SU affect the GPA for a course? That's a great question. And SU does not affect your GPA. The S counts for credit towards graduation, the U does not. So that's an important distinction. So if you get a D plus, a D, or a D minus, the letter grade would be turned to a U. It does not affect your GPA, but you do not earn course credit for the course. Whereas unless there's a major requirement for the grade, you would get course credit with the D letter grade, but not if you took it as a U. I'm planning to study double majors. Is it okay for students to study more than 32 credits? Absolutely. Lots of times, and Lindsay can confirm that we have lots of students that graduate with well over the 32 credits. The 32 is kind of the minimum. So it's kind of like a speed limit. When you see a minimum and a maximum, we don't have a maximum. We just have the minimum. So 32 is the bare bones of what you need in order to graduate, assuming that you have fulfilled requirements for both a major and the Gettysburg curriculum, but well over 32. I think Harrison can attest to that he will be one of those that has well over 32 as well.
Absolutely. Yes, it is just a bare minimum. You can theoretically as many as you could fit, but yes, do not worry. The 32 is not like a cap or anything. You can take above that.
So another great question, if a class fulfills more than one general curriculum requirement, will it fulfill one of those requirements or both of them? So that is a great question. And Lindsay, do you want me to take this or do you want to?
As long as the course has been approved by the Academic Program and Policy Committee, if it's been approved for the 2 curriculum requirements, it may count for both. It's also the case where if a student has a particular major course that can also be approved as a curriculum requirement, it can satisfy both as well. So again, that's that departmental advice, working with them to see if any of your major classes would also fulfill a curriculum requirement.
Absolutely. The only time you can't really have a 2-4 if it's listed as it fulfilling global understanding and conceptualizing diversity, it can't do both of those. That's an either or situation. But if it says social science, global understanding, and conceptualizing diversity, it can do 2 of those, just not the same 2 there. So we want to make sure that you're looking at that correctly. Faculty advisors are a great point person if you're not totally sure, and to check your academic requirement report where Harrison showed you in Student Center. It's a good way for you to see what's that the course is fulfilling. And Harrison and Lindsay, do you see any other questions here we have not answered?
Yes, so I can address the Lincoln Scholars. I believe they do still have the early registration. I'm not entirely sure about the Eisenhower Scholars, but I do know that the Lincoln Scholars get the early registration. So that would be the 7 a.m. time that would be assigned to them.
I'm seeing one question about how is the course cluster option graded? And if I'm wrong on this, please feel free to step in and correct me. But from my understanding, the course cluster is just referring to 2 courses that you would take in tandem to fulfill this one requirement that's just called the course cluster. So there's no special way that the class is like graded that sets it apart from the others. It is simply 2 classes that you would take that would be graded in a normal way, and completing both of them would fulfill your requirement for the cluster, if I'm right on that.
Yes, yes. It's again 2 courses within different disciplines. You would work with the current instructor. So for example, if a student wanted to fulfill the course cluster for the fall semester, they would work with that instructor in the fall. Again, it's either a paper or project. It's something between the student and instructor, and it's actually graded just an SU. So the student either earns credit. They don't earn an actual unit for it, but it satisfies the requirement. So again, something to keep in mind. But yes, you either successfully pass it and get the S, or you get the U. So it does not impact your GPA. Oh, for the registrar's webpage, I believe that we are still working with marketing communications to get that updated on our webpage. So we may not have that posted out there as of yet on the webpage, but the search should be live in the Student Center for you to start taking a look at those.
Excellent. And I have some questions coming in the chat that are just coming to me. So I'm trying to answer those as they come in. If anyone wants to turn their camera on and unmute themselves and ask their question live, Harrison and Lindsay and I would be happy to stay for a few minutes. And otherwise, you are free to go. We tried to make this quick and short and to the point. The recording will be available as soon as we can get it up and available. So if there's something that you missed, certainly you can review. And if you have questions, your faculty advisors are the go-to people. They are the go-to folks for those questions. And we will be doing another registration workshop sometime during the week of April 12th. And we'll get that date out. If your friends missed today and want to join us, then we would be happy to see them, and we will be staying on. So thank you everyone for coming, and look for those check sheets to come in your inbox.